Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the ninth day, yes, of January 2020. Need to bend my cards back here. Oops, that's a little too much. Sometimes they get bent like that after a point, and you just have to take a moment and just do this and make it a little easier to shuffle. So while I'm doing this, I'll go over the astrology for today, I guess. We've got a 9 energy, and so it's one of completion, endings. So there may be a feeling of that today where things maybe sort of come to fruition for you. But the moon's in the 5th house in Cancer. Now, this is a theme that I noticed throughout everything I looked at, or pretty much everything I looked at. It's a day for play, but it's also a time where something new could take hold. Now, the problem with that, it's not that can't be a good thing, right? But we're also looking at the moon in conjunct Mars, and we may feel just a little out of sorts today. So hang on to that, because I think it's going to factor in throughout the rest of the reading, the astrology part of the reading. Anyway, when we feel out of sorts, we can take the bait, we can rise to the occasion, we can see a problem where there really isn't one. It's just a function of the energy of the moment. We rise to the occasion too much. We react too much instead of just sort of sitting back and taking the observer role and just letting things settle before we do that. Now, the sun in the 12th house in Capricorn, here we're going to be reevaluating significant areas of our lives, right? Conjunct Mercury, still ideas are flowing, and here's where the something new could take hold. There could be some kind of good news coming today with that conjunct in Mercury. Kind of lost my place right there. But there's a semi-square with Mars. Just like with the inconjunct between the Mars and the moon, there's a semi-square between the sun and Mars. Arguments could occur. Don't alienate others. Remember that you're out of sorts. Again, take the observer role and just sit with your feelings and don't express them. Just at least try not to, because it might not work out for you. You could alienate people that you need. So we don't want to do that. Seek a physical outlet. Go for a walk, go do some yoga, go work out, go do something, but work whatever you're feeling out physically, and then that should help. There is a conjunct between the sun and Ceres, and this is where I'm saying that there could be something new today. Something new, but that could take hold. Ceres is more about agriculture, but therefore you're looking at personal growth there. So whatever is going to happen today, it's going to help you grow in an inner way, perhaps. Again, Mercury, 12th house Capricorn, time for reflection. A lot of that today. Again, the Venus is still in the 1st house of Aquarius, unconventional relationships, but here you're going to want to take the time to put your best foot forward. Venus is usually thinking about how she looks, and so maybe you want to get a haircut or put on a nice outfit or go buy something new or whatever if you're into that. Mars still 9th house Sagittarius, inspired leader still but in conjunct Uranus, impulsivity's high. Let's see, Jupiter 11th house in Capricorn. Oh, and here's another where I think that this is also, we're kind of in this reflective, changing directions kind of, because it's a 9 energy. So, it's completion and endings today. So, but the thing about it is, with Jupiter in the 11th house, relationships are going to take a more purposeful or selective focus, maybe. Your networking is going to increase, but again, don't alienate anyone. Don't allow the semi-square between, the sun and Mercury, or no, Mars rather. Don't take the bait. Just let it go. and you'll be better tomorrow for it. Saturn in the 12th house of Capricorn, again, careful in your selection of friends and associates. Some might end if they're not purposeful enough, with Jupiter's relationship there. There are aspects there with between in the 11th house in Capricorn. You want your your relationships to be purposeful, evidently, right now, not just simply because they're your friend for some reason. So, in any event, conjunct Pluto still, ambitions present, and use leadership in a positive way. Don't oppress anybody, and you might be able to get through okay today. So let's see, correspondences are not yet up on the blog, but that's going to come up here shortly. I'm going to do that that chart for noon always. This one was done for this morning's was done for 9-ish, something like that. I think I didn't change it to exactly 9. I think I just left it 9 and some change. I don't know what it was. But in any event, check the blog over there at imsteppingaside.com for the correspondences and the current astro information. Get a little bit more there. And particularly if you're working magic, check it out, because then you don't have to consult your grimoire for all the different correspondences you might want to use. Let's see, the newsletter, you can sign up everywhere on the blog for that. There's a link below the video here to that. Let's see. I just did a little video for Green Cultured. It's a cannabis university out of Colorado. Check that out. That's going to be up here on the YouTube channel. Also, it's going to be over. I've discovered how to put these things up on Pinterest. So there's an affiliate video section on Pinterest, and so I had to create a business account to do it, but I'm doing it there too. Also, it'll also be on Stepping Aside's Facebook page. If you're interested in working in the cannabis industry, we, as patients, and I'm also a grower, but as patients, you sort of wing it, don't you? If you go and you spend all your money at a dispensary, then you're not going to have any money. So you're sort of forced into doing this stuff yourself when you're trying to heal, and you're forced to grow, you're forced to make your own medicine and all of that. And you try to find whatever, in the past, I started doing this in 2010. So I've been doing this about 10 years now. And you do it by the seat of your pants, basically. You find whatever you can read, you talk to people, you go online, you research as much as you can. And you make your mistakes along the way, and you learn and all of that. And eventually a university pops up that actually puts all of this learning that you've done into some kind of cohesive and coherent fashion. And Green Culture does that. It's a really great university. It's online. You can get any, your dispensary certification. You can get different types of grower certifications. And there's retail. You can do retail dispensary classes you can take. You can learn how to work there. The most important thing at a dispensary is that you got to have people that know what they're talking about. When you're sick and you're desperate and you're looking for answers when nothing else has worked, you walk into a place like that, you want somebody that knows what they're talking about. And this place makes sure that you do. So I don't know. I think that they're a great company. I'm going to have them, I'll move them up under the affiliate section to the top. If you're interested, click on that link. And that way I get credit for the sale. If you decide to sign up for any courses, I'll get credit for that, earn a little bit of advertising commission for it. But use that link to get to them, and check them out. Check out their course catalog. I think you're going to be astonished at what you found. I was shocked. I was, thrilled, frankly, and at what they have. So check them out. Green Cultured. Or GC Lab, whatever you want to call them, and get if you're interested in learning, if you're interested in becoming, working in the industry, this is your training. So check them out. Anyhow, that's my plug for the morning, and let's go ahead and get started and take our first 3 cards. Now, if this is your first time here, thank you for coming by. I really appreciate it. I'd love you to click subscribe. Again, check out the blog over at imsteppingaside.com. I also have a Patreon page if you're interested in any of that. If you want to read anything, though, that isn't public, you'll have to choose a tier. They're low, though, so choose the lowest and it'll be fine. And so anyhow, and again, sign up for the newsletter that comes out on Sundays. At least right now, I might change it to every 2 weeks, but I'll just see how much more comes out of my head that I can put in it. So if it starts to wane a bit, then it might only be every other week. But right now it's every week, and it's pretty good. So check it out and sign up for it. Anyhow, what we're going to do here, if you haven't been here before, is I'm going to take the first 3 cards and we're going to look at those. We're going to talk about them. I'm not really going to talk about them while I'm putting them down. And I'm going to do it randomly, so I'll take the 13th one each time. I want this to be completely random in what I'm doing. And then we'll take a rune from the Elder Futhark bag, and then we'll close out with a Geomancy rune to sort of tie it all together. So let's get started. Well, we have the 4 of Cups, so the water element and our emotions. 4 is about structure and foundation and taking a moment to just sort of let things gel, which we need to do today, obviously, with the astrology being what it is. We definitely need to do that. But it's true, we rise to the bait too much. And instead of just letting things settle, sometimes, you know, if you think of a biorhythm chart, you know, it's doing this, right? You've got a bunch of sine waves. And so sometimes your mood is high, sometimes your mood is low, sometimes intellect is high, sometimes it's low. You just do this. We're in a cycle, right, all the time. And so it makes sense to maybe, instead of when things are in their peaks and in their valleys, to maybe get them on the upswing and the downswing. And that's when you do things, because if you have to talk to somebody or whatever, you don't want to be so animated, right, that they can't hear you. And you don't want to be so reserved that you don't get your message across, right? So you get it kind of in the center, and you do a little bit better. So anyway, we have the 8 of Swords. Swords is the air elements. We've got emotions and we've got intellect now that we're working with. Swords is also about justice and reason, truth, clarity, cutting through the nonsense of life, you know, that kind of thing. And we have justice. 11th card of the Major Arcana. Now, we had this one yesterday, likely having to do with what's going on in our country, but maybe not, you know, but it's how we were dealing with authority. I think, was it also the Devil card, or was that the other day that we had that, where we're trying to figure out, you know, what we're going to do here, how we're going to approach things. Are we going to do it, you know, in clarity, or are we going to do it in, you know, service to others or service to self? That ended up being the breakdown there. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to put justice in the center. We're going to move the cards around, which you can do, by the way. Got to make the readings make sense. What we're going to do here, this was just a fluke one time. I noticed there was a yod when I was doing the astrology. I noticed there was a yod, and I just mentioned it, you know, and it turned out the cards matched the yod. So that's kind of, it was like my signal saying, oh, let's do it this way. So basically what a yod in astrology is, it's an aspect pattern, and it involves usually 3 planets. Sometimes if it involves the moon, it can be 4, I guess. But anyway, what you're doing is you've got 2 down here, 1 here, and 1 here, and then the focal point here. And the 2 down here are happy with each other. It's called being in sextile. So they're getting along, right? And they're basically, you know, maybe they're doing their own thing, but they're not really interfering with one another. They're just sort of in support, and they're supporting whatever the focal point's trying to do. Now, we can look at this that way, or we can look at the focal point informing the other 2. It's a kind of a 2-way experience. And so today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the focal point, which is justice, informing the 4 and the 8, which we have a pattern there, don't we? Yeah. But let's talk about justice first. Here we have Lady Justice sitting on her throne. She's got her sword in her right hand, pointing straight up to spirit. There's some vitality there. So you see evidence of the fire element. You see the scales in her left hand, again, air element. You see the 2 pillars, which are probably part of her throne, but maybe not. But the idea is that you're looking at balance, aren't you? If you look at the 11, you've got 2 1s, right? So balance. But 11, we don't reduce. You can when you do an entire numerology of something and it's a component of it. I don't reduce it to 2, leave it as an 11, and then add it in from there, is how I do it. But the 11 is the master number for illumination. And so when we talk about justice, then we're talking about illumination that's from spirit. That's a kind of a source energy type of thing. And basically, what we're talking about with a major arcana card, we're also talking about soul archetype cards. And so when you have one that appears, then, and if you have more than one that appears, then you have spirit going, hey, pay attention. So right now we have issues of justice and fairness. And both cards, the Four of Cups and the Eight of Swords, they take an inner focus. And I think you can see that. In the Eight, we have a woman who's blindfolded, and she's bound, and she's surrounded by her thoughts or other people's thoughts. But there's just too much, and too much is coming in on her. And she's having to take stock, right? And go inward without anything getting in the way of it. Now, the Four, we'll put her down. The Four is a little bit different. We see a hand reaching out from the clouds, from the unknown. That's a familiar theme in tarot, by the way. He's got his back up against the oak tree. So he's trying to gain some strength there. But his arms are crossed, his legs are crossed in a defensive posture. You see 3 cups on the ground. The one, of course, being handed to him. He can't see that, though, can he? This card reminds me of a pity party, but that's kind of a negative thing, isn't it? It could be that. Just because of the way he's got his arms and legs crossed. He's just not paying attention to anything else, you know. But maybe emotions are just too much for him right now, and things need to settle out. Again, you know, we talked about that today, taking the observer role, astrologically, not taking the bait, allowing things to come to the center and come to a rest before understanding what the true picture is. Maybe our emotions are out of sort just because they're out of sorts, and not for any particular reason. The problem is we tend to try to find a reason, right? And when you try to find a reason, you're going to, whether there's really one or not, right? Especially if emotions are in flux. Same thing, though, with our thoughts. They can get away from us. And sometimes we just have to go inward. And here, she's standing on soppy, wet sand, right? So there was some conflict here, wasn't there? You see some Mars energy here, some fire energy. And so there was a lot of stuff coming in on her, and she's just had enough. A lot of thoughts, maybe from others, likely from herself, though. Just too much, and she's just going to shut it all down, just like he's doing. And that's basically what the astrology is telling us today, essentially, just to shut it all down. If you feel like, you know, you're getting out of control, your emotions are rising, you're going to take the bait, you're going to react to something maybe in a way that you see conflict maybe. Maybe there really isn't any, or if there is, it's nothing you need to be involved with. You know, it may be, you know, we've been, if this is collective, you know, we've all been through the ringer, and a lot of, you know, bizarre things are happening right now. Things that make us all feel less safe, less secure in the country. I think that given that this is a 22 year, I'm not sure that we really have to worry too much about that. I think that, you know, the cosmic builder, you know, the double 11, you know, we're going to be coming back into intentional harmony, I think. Because I think that we're going to see the fallacy, and again, that could be this. When you talk about the 8, you talk about a higher level of harmony, you know, leadership level, where you can step back, and she's doing it by going within and preventing anything else from coming in to influence her, just her own alignment in her own, you know, inner truth, basically. But when we do that, you know, we let go of the chaos because we have to. The fallacy contained within it, you see, becomes too much for us to even consider adopting as our own belief. In other words, it's one of those moments where, you know, and where you realize that you've been duped, where someone has lied to you, or maybe you just thought things were a certain way and you discovered that they weren't. You know, maybe, I mean, this feels foundational. So something about your life, maybe you've made some realizations, and it's difficult now to to maybe know where your place is in things, because maybe what you thought was true just is not, and you believed in it so fervently that, you know, you've really had to take a step back and reevaluate things. We see that astrologically right now, where reevaluation is part of what's going on. And it feels to me like that's what's happening here. We're having to reevaluate our emotional commitment to something, maybe to our intellectual commitment to something. And we're discovering that, you know what, it was built on soppy, wet sand, and we need to just let it go. You know, same sort of thing here, reevaluation. What happens when you go to court? The judge, the jury, they're evaluating, or in a sense, reevaluating what happened, because it's something that has happened in the past, and now they're having to look at it, reevaluate what happened in a new light, maybe, with new information, to come to some kind of a decision. And that's basically what we're talking about here, I think. I don't think we need a fourth card either. This is just a day for inner reflection. We got a lot of stuff, you know, most everything's in the fourth quadrant. So you're looking at issues of endings. Let me see. I wrote something down about that. In the fourth quadrant, you're goal oriented, but you want to have an ending to that. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing isn't becoming fanatical. So again, you know, that aligns quite well with both the 4 and the 8. You know, the 8's going to have a little bit more weight to it. Our thoughts, you know, excuse me, it begins in emotion. We have a feeling about something, then we start thinking about it, and then we act, right? Well, apparently the thoughts are taking us in places they shouldn't be. So whereas it begins with the emotion, then the thoughts just take it and run with it. And that's what I think you see with the 8. And she's just like, no, I can't do that right now. I have to go within and think about this, and without any distractions of my thoughts, of other people's thoughts, all of it. It's just got to go. Here we have Rado, 5th rune of the Elder Futhark, air element. And I'm going to draw this one out for you because it is a bind rune, as many of the runes are. You know, we can combine them and do a little rune magic and make a bind rune, but Rado's just got it all inherent within. Let me get a pen that works here. So here's Rado. This is rhythmic motion. It's integration. Think horse and rider, integrated movement with others, soul journey. This is a complicated one. We have Isa, we have Laguz, and I'm going to do them in order here. Laguz. We have, let me see, we have Vunyo, and we have Kenaz, forward and reversed. So this is what makes up Rado. I drop it on the floor. Okay, beginning over here, we have Isa. We freeze things into place. That's the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's a Norn rune. The present moment, we're, again, freezing things into place. Alignment, think alignment. Next is Laguz, or flow. Flowing together in alignment from spirit. The next is Vunyo, or joy and fellowship with others. And then the last one is Kenaz twice. It's the light of spirit turned inward and outward. So you can see the spirit focus here on alignment and on fellowship and on integration with other people when you look at the rune Rado. As the 5th rune, we're talking change. 5 is about change. It's about protection, safety, fulfillment. So clearly there's got to be a change that is informed by source presence and justice. A higher sense of justice from spirit. We cannot be so focused on the minutia that we can't see the bigger picture here that's involved. I think that, I suspect that, you know, we're looking, and the geomancy rune will likely tell us this, but I suspect that we're looking at whatever brought us to this point is based in emotion and intellect, to where we've become, and maybe we've become part of a group that we've gotten caught up in, that is perhaps so service to self oriented that they cannot see the bigger picture. They think they're the bigger picture, and the rest of us just don't matter. And so it's like, instead of collectively including everyone in this whole drama that we're going through, instead it's like, no, this is the only group that matters. Well, the second you see that, you're wrong. I don't care what your premise is. If you don't include everybody in your work, well, I don't know what good it is, right? So let's just see what the geomancy rune has to say, though. Let's see. Oh, well, something's wrong with my magnifying glass. I think it's the switch. So we have poor. So little unstable boy energy. Again, with your little groups that want to go out and think they're the only people in the world that matter, that have a voice, that have a say. No, we all have a voice. We all have a say. We got to find a way forward together. It's just that simple. This is poor. Turned upside down, you got Puella or Puea. That's poor. We're talking, Puea is the little girl energy, a little bit older, though, than the boy. I raised boys, and so I understand boy energy. You know, they're a lot of fun, but they lack impulse control, just like any child does. But boys, you know, they're out there doing whatever they want to do. And you have to, you know, corral them a bit and make sure they don't go too far. Because they can, you know, they really can. They get very inventive. You know, my boys were gifted, and so they were gifted in all ways. So they did all kinds of strange things. That's why we ended up homeschooling, because, you know, they were in school for a while, but it just wasn't the right environment for them. You know, they needed a place that they could just grow and be and do, and at home it seemed like the thing to do. So they spent the last, I pulled them out when my oldest had finished 7th and my youngest had finished 4th. And I just said, that's it. And my oldest tried high school for about a week in the 9th grade and went, ew. And so came back home and they both GED'd early when they were 16, when you could. And then at that point they could go and take classes at the college unhindered. Otherwise they could only sign up for 2 per term, you know, as a high school concurrent enrollment. So they'd been doing that. And then once they got to the age they could do their GED, I let them do that, and then they could make the choice to either continue homeschooling if they didn't want to go to college yet, or they could get a job for a little bit and continue to study and then go to college. But college was where they were going, and they did, and they both graduated, and you know, and they're doing well in their fields. So, you know, lots of other ways you can do this beginning with little boy energy. Lots of wonderful things can come out of it. But the idea about poor is that sometimes we get carried away with ourselves and we get focused on one type of idea, and it can really turn into a movement for us. And I really think that right now, this may be having to do with that, where we're having to go within if we have adopted a belief system or just a belief, maybe not a system, just you've got these ideas in your head that really aren't serving the collective. And right now, I think that may be where the focus is, especially energetically. With the 22 year, we're talking, you know, 2 and 2 coming together. So 2 and 2 is like the 4 of wands, where you're coming together, balanced polarity from both parties coming together in balanced energy exchange with others. Rado is about balanced energy exchange or integrative energy exchange with others. But the idea is you're not going it alone. It's integrative, okay? So it seems to me that maybe the one area that we've not really looked at yet or come into focus with is maybe the groups that are existing right now that are pulling at the boundaries and trying to vie for position of being the dominant view. And what I would advise, and what I think that this is advising, is to rethink that. And to understand that the grievance-based viewpoint, although valuable in terms of the content of the grievance, the behavior surrounding it is not. Okay? So not saying that what folks that are rising up and in these small groups and doing what they're doing, it's not that what they're saying I mean, maybe some of it's garbage, but and doesn't pan out. That's just really self-focused. It's like, yeah, wouldn't you love it to be that way? That kind of stuff. But not all of it is, right? Some of it, they're making some really good points about what they're seeing and experiencing in their lives. So pay attention, right? But let's not do little factions that pull against the fabric that connects us all. That's all I think that this is saying. And with the poor energy, and that's spelled Puer, with that, you're not able to really see that. But then, eventually here, we realize through integration with others that this just isn't really possible, okay? The poor in us is not possible, all right? It's not going to get us anywhere. We're not going to go in any kind of integrated fashion that way, because even within the small factions, the little groups that exist right now, they're not in a good place with one another necessarily. They fight. There's infighting. We don't need that. We need reunification, and that's what the 22 years is all about. It's the cosmic builder, but from a soul perspective. And soul's not going to allow us to continue down this path anymore. It's ascension time. We don't have time for that now. All right. We have to get it together. We have to figure out who and what we are and get on the spiritual track here and come together in fundamental unity with others. Now, it doesn't mean we have to agree all the time, because we're not going to. It's that inner friction, that inner nathes, that allows us to grow and to change and to create and to move in a better direction. So we don't want to have complete agreement, right? That isn't necessary for unity. Never was, okay? So don't confuse the two. But today, let go of emotions that don't serve and align in your own source presence to find the truth within, to try and find the clarity that you need to work again in harmony with other people, to find the balance and the justice within your life, and to let go of the little boy energy that's having a little too much fun for their own good, right? So I guess that does it. This is Thursday, by the way, so I won't see you again until Monday. Look for stuff to come out on the blog. I didn't do a goddess forecast last week because it was basically the same as the week before. So I'll look this time and see if I can do one. If anything's changed, I will. That's probably going to go up on Patreon as well, but I'll probably do that on the blog as well, so you won't have to pay to see that over there. Look for, again, the Green Cultured video to come up on Facebook, Stepping Inside's Facebook, here in the affiliate section on the YouTube channel, on the affiliate section, the YouTube channel, or video section in the affiliate video section. There we go. On the Pinterest page. Go look there. It'll be up there here pretty soon. The correspondences again will go up, and I don't know, I might write something else. Weekly Rune and Moon will go up on Sunday. So lots of things to look at over there on the blog at imsteppingaside.com. Come back here on Monday and we'll chat again and look at the cards and the runes and the astrology and see how that can enhance or get in the way with things sometimes. But that enhances. So in any event, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on Monday. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.